Live here in Salem, Oregon with Oscar, not the Grouch. Oscar, one of our lead growers, a pretty happy guy. So what's going on, man?
How we doing? Good to see
Welcome
you
to
back
the,
me. Oh,
well,
welcome
he's
to
been on the
Oregon.
team for a while. So you're up here in Oregon growing at the farm. How long have you been growing cannabis in general?
So I've been involved in the industry for a little over 5 years now, growing. I also have some extensive knowledge in the lab testing side, hence the potency instruments we have here. Also some consultation work throughout the industry in Nevada, and now I'm up here in Salem, Oregon, working at a new rec grow with some other projects coming down the line. So we're real excited.
Oh, hey, look, I took your microphone off mute. So I'll let you kind of introduce yourself again, but I think really what's nice for people to understand when what is a mystery, and it's kind of easy for us to understand as an easy way for us to explain, to introduce people to the show is, basically what is your kind of day-to-day responsibility. And if you see Oscar working over here on this box and you hear some of that noise, that's actually our HPLC machine running. So we're here in a legal licensed grow in Oregon, and there's all sorts of fun reasons why we want to test these plants, right? So we can do in-house testing of the flower, right, to see and gauge what potencies we're getting, right, which can be used to judge harvest times, harvest dates, just internal analysis and tracking of what strains are doing better. Or we can use them to test leaf of vegetative plants and see what ratios those are, so we know we're going to clone the plant that's in a 1-to-1 ratio or whatever we have going upstairs. So, all right, so your mic's back on.
Cool.
Oscar, if you would just pull it over towards you.
Yep.
Yeah, so there you go.
All right.
So you hear that buzzing, but that's fine. That's kind of makes it what's real. So what's kind of your like Monday through Friday grind, just in general, so people
so
understand what all goes into these places, because it's pretty complex.
Absolutely. It's constantly changing. We're working on, obviously, the grow and trying to keep our plants as healthy as we can all the time. Always here, we call this the Innovation Center here in Oregon, and we like to test out different experiments, different theories, and other things that we can do with our lights and our plants to try to increase the potency and viability of the plants.
And so by that you mean you guys are taking notes or keeping logs of
Exactly.
what specific things. So I know there's your lights, right? There's nutrients. I mean, what are some of the things maybe that you monitored?
Yep.
Today?
So I've been involved heavily in the data acquisition and just collecting data so that we can eventually analyze it and draw conclusions and figure out where things go wrong, where things go right, and be able to dial in a more exact grow regimen. So some of the things that we're tracking are temperature, humidity, CO2 levels, also water temperature.
So you've been growing for a while, right? And we, a lot of us know, a lot of the general things of growing, right?
Sure.
We've used different formulas. We've used GH. We've used different things.
Exactly.
Is there anything, I think playing around recently as you get into a more formal grow and you have more resources that you have found like, oh darn, like after growing weed for all these years, that actually made a difference?
Yeah, it's kind of leaps and bounds. You can stumble upon new things all the time, and sometimes it's one little environmental thing that you weren't paying attention to that can lead to poor performance all the way down the road. I've seen that in my home growing experience before, and now we're correcting all of that and making sure it doesn't happen here at our spot, and we optimize all our strains and all our plants.
So let's go over some of the basic stuff, basic to us, but that makes Cannabis Farms, or the farm we're at, kind of on par with any sort of a excellent grow in Oregon or in the United States today. And so what are some of those basic things that you think like the grow has to do that it does, right? So basically kind of organic standard, no pesticides, energy efficiency.
Exactly.
What are you doing here that basically kind of makes it a world-class operation?
We work on all of that. We're using pretty basic types of nutrients in our plants so that we're able to cut our costs down and not have to use fancy over-the-counter bottled branded products. So that's helping bring our costs down.
Smart, and that's because you basically know on an elemental level what your mix needs to be.
Throughout the grow, the needs of the plants throughout their different growth stages throughout the cycle.
So you're adding certain amounts of certain nutrients, and then you're also adding, or you're measuring it with their ppm meter and everything like that.
Absolutely, yeah. We keep a close track on all the feeds before we give them out to the plants. We want to make sure the ppm, or the total dissolved salt level, is correct, as well as the pH level, so that the plants are able to uptake all of those nutrients and use them for growth.
Yeah, right on. And so what did this thing, do we have to do anything now?
So it's just going through some of its stages, zeroing out so that we can get ready to run a sample. It's just about finished here, so we will see.
And so this is a pretty special machine for anyone that's watching. It costs about 15 grand, and that's just to get into it. Then you have to do all the maintenance and the software updates if you keep it for more than a year. But what it really lets people do is what we talked about earlier, but even in the manufacturing process, it can help you find your actual versus expected yields in certain phases of extraction. So you may be missing a lot of the product that you think you're getting unless you're testing it and refining your processes. So Oscar, what's the strain you're working on right now, bro?
So we're gonna run some Moondrops. This is a strain that we grow here in our farm at Cannabis, and it's the most recent harvest that we have. It smells fantastic, so we're hoping to get some potency numbers to go along with it and see what kind of cannabinoids.
Right on, bro. So, everyone at home, it's all a mystery to how we do all this stuff. So if you see in this vial, which you probably can't see too well with that camera way away, but that's okay. Watch what happens if I zoom in. Here we go. Well, a little bit. It didn't help too much, but there you go. Okay. So you've got this vial, and this has an alcohol solution in here where we've shaken the plant material and extracted the cannabinoids into that solution. And you have to actually do some things like weigh it properly and all that sort of stuff, because it's math and it's science. And if you don't input the right measurements and weights and things like that, you don't get the right results. And so here we are, and Oscar is...
Yep, so here now I'm injecting the sample straight into our HPLC so that it can separate and read out the cannabinoids that we've got.
Another good thing this machine is used for, right, is making sure that people are honest. So if you're ever buying large amounts of flour, you get to spot check the person selling to you to make sure that they didn't put the good weed on the top and the shitty weed on the bottom. And so this is a great on-the-fly method to ensure that you're getting what you pay for. And then, Oscar, after you finish hitting those buttons, I see you've got some other stuff on the table here.
Sure. So here on the table, we've got some keef that we've collected through our trimming process, and we're just going to test that out here and see what kind of numbers we're working with there.
I bet 60% THC.
That'd be nice.
It would be.
And also, we've got a little bit here of some decarboxylated keef, or at least we went through a decarboxylation process, and we're going to be checking it to see how much THCA we've converted to Delta-9 THC. For the purposes of making, topicals or edibles or something like that.
Yeah, so super, super cool. I think the big things that are exciting for me to be part of this process right now is that, in real time, you can begin to rapidly hunt phenotypes and chemotypes once you have a setup like this. So you're talking about having a trained team now that has infrastructure that is in position really almost nationwide, right? Through Jen's lighting deals, right? All of his technology in different places. So you have that. You have a back end here which can rapidly hunt and identify new strains, has relationships with both East Coast and West Coast growers. So we have access to the dopest of cuts, which can then come in here and be analyzed not just by sight and growing and smoking and test that flower, but we are testing those strains early on to see what ratios we want to grow and all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be able to have it in-house and not have to send out to a third-party lab. It's one, convenient, and a little cheaper for us to do it in-house after the initial investment, of course.
Yeah.
And also, we can track our plants throughout the grow rather than just after harvest, after drying, after curing. So we can really, see a little farther and learn a little more about how the plants grow and progress and, different strains, how they act differently, dial in our harvest times like Dr. D mentioned earlier, which can be real crucial to maximizing both yield and cannabinoids.
Yeah, kind of a digital grow journal. And that's kind of what I think, especially for the industry, right, that cares about what we're growing and enjoys this, your guys are going to be able to really hang out and follow with Oscar and I and see what is, what's being grown, what is all coming out of these farms, and basically participate in the process. And that lets all the other folks in the industry really see the authenticity of the flower, the process that goes into the flower, and, have some way to verify that it is being grown, by people that care and in the ways that we say we're growing it. And that can really only be done when you're, always able to invite people into your house and have them over to chat and talk. And I think that's something that, here locally, whether it's from dialing the dial-in number, right, which you can see up at the upper right-hand corner or left-hand corner of your screen, or by chatting with us through Facebook, or even coming over to the grow if you're local, it just builds a very easy way for everyone to keep track of each other and keep, things tight in the industry, even if we are, traveling. And I know a lot of my friends down in Los Angeles and Las Vegas, and then on the East Coast in Virginia and Florida, they all watch this, and they also, are participants in it. Mm-hmm. So it's cool to be part of the team, bro.
Definitely, yeah. It's a cool, way to share knowledge and, just get out there, outreach, and connect with other people throughout the industry. And
and so the cool part too is that even right now, while I'm sitting here, I can have one of my friends who's in the grow even call in on Skype and be roving with their phone, feed it in and showing you stuff while I'm talking, or we could just connect this camera and go walk around the grow a little bit as well. But I think that's, for another day. We'll go through some more of the testing. I think that's very interesting for people that haven't seen it. So we're going to go ahead and show you when we come back, if you'll tune back in, probably in 5 or 10 minutes, the process we go from, grabbing a leaf to extracting that to running through the process. Then we'll actually show you a picture here of the, what the test results look like. And Oscar, it's pretty cool on the software here, right? If you were to just text me that picture you just took.
I sent it to the WeChat a few minutes ago.
Did you? Well, that would be lovely, because I will literally pull that up. And I'm going to show everyone, while we have you guys watching, what one of these tests look like. Okay. And so you can see the results, and Oscar can kind of tell you how that compares to some of the other tests that he may have seen.
Sure, absolutely.
At some of the licensed labs. All right, so Oscar has, there we go. All right. So let me make this big so everyone doesn't get distracted. All right, and if I come over to my software and I share my screen now, there it goes. Okay, so I know everyone can see this now. You actually are going to be looking at the results of a strain on the HPLC machine, and this is the Light Lab machine, in case anyone's wondering. So you can see this was moon drops.
Another batch of moon drops, yep.
So if you're interpreting this test for people that don't understand, THCA is the acidic form of THC. THC is the molecule that gets you high, but it exists in the plant in the acidic form, which actually, believe it or not, Native American folks used to chew leaves and things like that for pain relief. And the acidic form is anti-pain and anti-inflammatory and things like that. So it's actually a cool molecule to work with, or even to eat as salad. But once you heat that, right, the acid falls off and you're left with THC. So you're basically looking at a 22% flower here, and you can see the machine actually does pick up some of the minor cannabinoids. It's sensitive enough to do that. So you can see some CBG, you can see some CBD, and all that sort of cool stuff. So, as you're getting more into this is neat stuff to do. And, to be able to report on and all that sort of good stuff. And then I can go right back to the camera, and there we are. Lovely. So guys, let us go work on this machine. We're going to go work on the lab or in the grow a little bit more, and we'll bring you back some more cool cannabis industry life. Peace, guys. Talk soon.